Hey everybody, let's get this turned here. Make sure that's bright. Okay, time to get us set up here. Hope everybody's having a good night. Alright, let me get some links up. Or try to. Here we are. So right here we got some Moebius. We'll be looking at that in a little bit. Or Jean Giraud. BMC Comics. Hello. Derek Jones. There's my boy. Copy link. Let me just put a couple links up here. Okay. Instagram. Okay. We are live. Love? No, live. Sorry guys, I just finished bedtime. From a kiddo, so usually I say usually I get these links up earlier, but I don't. All right, here we go, and done. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? What's going on? Got Eli. Here we go. All right, I'm back. The Canon Cam is back by a popular demand. So, hopefully I'm presentable to some extent. So tonight's mostly going to be a show and tell. I wanted to go through some of these SCHLUB number 5 and 6 pages. I wrapped that series up maybe a while back, but I didn't have all the art available until now. So all of the original art from the SCHLUB 5 and 6 is available on my website. And so I like to do a little bit of a walkthrough when I put that stuff up, just so people can get some insight into what the different pages are and what it was like working on them. So maybe that'll prompt them to have an easier time picking which page they want to buy. But also, some of these pages will be going soon, an undetermined amount at this time, but people have been buying them. And so I wanted to do a walkthrough before they were all gone, because a lot of them actually are gone already. So yeah, we'll be talking about the SCHLUB 5 and 6 here in a minute. But first, I was, I'm working on a new project, which I can't tell you guys much about. I've showed a little bit of stuff from it. Here, I'll show a little. Here's a little image from it. Kind of a old city in the 1900s with these oil derricks all around it. So I'm working on this new series, and also you might notice I'm working on manga size paper. Kind of different. So I actually started playing with some old tools too, just old tools, I say, tools that I haven't been using as much lately that I used to use a lot, like brushes and nibs. And so I was using my, I just got a new brush for brushing with ink. And so I used that a little bit. That was a blast the other day. I loved it. And then I also I have a Falcon 48 nib that I love. I used a little bit of that. And I also used my, what is this one? It's like a G-nib or something. I can't remember the exact one. In this Tachikana holder. So it was really fun. And so when I was playing with that stuff, I was like, man, I need to look at some of this Moebius book. So there's a few of these that I've seen of different Blueberry books that are printed oversized, so it's pretty big, and in black and white. And it's not really marketed as an artist edition, but if you can tell just from this image here, what's awesome about it is that they leave the art pretty, I mean, it's probably cleaned up a little bit, but you can still see brush strokes and whiteout and all the things you love about an artist edition are pretty cool to see in this. But it also has all the words that are in French, of course, so I can't read it, which is fine. I'm here for the art anyway. But yeah, I was just looking through this Moebius book as sort of a way to get some inspiration for the stuff that I'm working on right now, and just kind of think about my brush techniques and stuff. Check in with the chat here. Carlos Navarro, love the work. Picked up every issue of the SCHLUB. Thank you so much, Carlos. That means a lot to me, man. I worked really hard on it, as you'll see shortly, and as you've already seen. Derek, looking good. Eli, need to start using nibs. You should try it. It's definitely fun. It's a different experience than drawing with like a brush pen or something. So I definitely recommend it. But this Moebius book is super tight. I'm not going to go through every page, but the amount of detail he can squeeze into panels, and then also have it still be very readable, and all this wonderful perspective, and he's drawn horses and costumes and different types of faces. Like, this is just a master class in illustration. I mean, every Moebius project really is, but at this point in time when he was doing Blueberry, it just feels like he was the most maybe technically proficient that he ever was, I mean, I like some of the way he worked later on. I like some of his single illustrations. I like all that stuff, just as much as this. But if I was going to just say like technique and the amount of kind of the, types of techniques and mastery of different things he displays in the Blueberry stuff, it's really amazing. And if you can get your hands on one of these black and white editions, it's pretty great because you can really see a lot of details. Here's the panel here that's a blow up on the cover. And so, like, even on the cover, it looks like a detailed drawing. Like, you'd see this and be like, that's really detailed. But that's bigger than the original drawing probably was. The original drawings were probably slightly bigger than this, I would imagine, but not that big. And man, oh man, there's some cool stuff in this. I mean, him drawing rocks and him drawing these different surfaces. I might have showed this on a past stream, but I pulled it out again, so I thought I would show it off again while I had it on here. Really amazing stuff. I mean, you can tell that the majority of this is done with dipped brush ink, and then I'm guessing he's probably using some technical pen or some pen nibs on some of these smaller lines. But even things like these rocks, I think most of those are still done with a brush. If not, it's definitely nibs. So you get these really heavy, sharp, like crisp lines when you use a dip brush or a nib. I mean, if you have the right paper. And even the best brush pens tend to be a tiny bit fuzzier and less heavy. And so to get some of these really sort of like beautiful outlines that he does on some of these characters and these organic hatch lines, you really got to go with some of those tools, and it will show and make a difference. Now, if you've never used them before, it's going to be a little rough when you first start off. Like, it's not like drawing with a regular pen. But everyone should do it because it's a really great experience, and sometimes it's the right fit for the project you're on, I'll probably use it a little bit more on this next project I'm doing. And same thing with the dip brush. It's really fun. Man, this horse here, the way he renders out this with the hatching is great. It's like a tone, but it also shows the shape of the legs and whatever the parts of the horse, but it also shows the lighting, but it also shows the texture. It's like, this is the kind of mastery of like the illustrated line that Moebius had, where, it's very effortless and it feels very confident and adept, but it's doing so many things. It's lighting, it's shaping, it's texturing, it's adding a value to the page. It's a really amazing stuff in this book. The thing that was tripping me out that I'm really wanting to do and steal is when he's doing these rocks here, and so this is a rainstorm, and these guys are walking through the rain, and he shows that by, the little hatch marks for the rain. He draws the ground so it looks muddy and wet. He has the lines are a little more wavy instead of being sharp or grassy. And then when he to show the rain in front of these background elements where he used maybe a solid black, it looks like he used a razor blade and just razored out those, which is really awesome. So you get this really dense feeling. You have like lines on top of hatched lines, and then you have sliced in white lines back on top of your black. So it's a really cool addition subtraction process. Yeah, Eli, these are really amazing faces that he draws in here. And the storytelling, is, of course, is on point too. You know, he's got just about every kind of storytelling technique you can use, all these different kinds of panel arrangements. You know, these just, I don't know, these backgrounds that just look so detailed. And I'm working on a book right now that's using a lot of reference. And man, I can tell you, like, just like figuring out what to put in the background is a whole new struggle. You know, you can't just look at what's next to you if you're doing something that's set in history. You really have to think about what it would look like and find reference. And he's doing all this pre-internet, you know, and he's just, I'm sure he's studying films and photograph books and paintings. I was obsessed with this face earlier today. This just like contour of this face and then the nose line like that. I wish I could draw faces like that. That's just, it's like so efficient and so beautiful. Anyway, Moebius. These, when I picked this one up, it couldn't have been more than like $40, $50 maybe. So I don't know if these are still easy to get, but I would say it's worth $60, $70, $80 easy. I don't know what they're going for now, but it's really, I mean, if you're an artist or someone who really appreciates the details in a piece of art, this is a really great book to have. Highly recommend it. This one's the Geronimo Apache one. There's another one with a big face on it. I think Derek, my friend Derek, has that one. I think there's 4 or 5 of these in this oversized edition. Where am I going to put this? Put this over here. Great. Everything's falling off my desk. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. Okay. Come over here, Jared. Okay. Whew. All right. So let's look at some SCHLUB, yeah? So SCHLUB. So, okay, guys, bear with me. If this looks terrible, I'll try to adjust, but I didn't have time to take all the pages out of my portfolio that I had in there from the last show. And so I might have to just pull the portfolio out at points. But if you guys can't see it, we'll adjust, okay? So, issue 5. You can kind of still see it, I think. So issue 5, page 1, right here. This page was one of the harder ones that I did, actually. It was because it has cars on it, and one of the things I was trying to work on while I was working on the SCHLUB was being able to draw a car without direct reference and making it look like a car that is just one of my cars, right? Like just a car that I make up to some degree, right? You know, maybe you use some references, but you know, the ability to just draw a thing when you want to put that thing on the page, I think is really important to develop so that you're not constantly looking for reference. Because for me to have found the reference to have these 2 cars sliding in like this at this exact angle and this truck, you know, it would have been just kind of a nightmare. You can use 3D models when you have to, but again, it just kind of feels like it automatically is going to feel like something people have seen before. And so I kind of like it to feel at least a little bit unique. And also the way when you draw something that's just your own, you can reduce it to its elements and you're not beholden to the reference. Anyway, that's my spiel. I don't think I'm great at cars, but I'm trying to find my way to draw them. And so this was a big challenge, and I really wanted it to be this big kind of low angle. You're zooming in to kind of, you know, really get in there with where he's at. And he's sort of coming through a portal Terminator style that goes through this truck. And the truck, this got covered up with some of the with some of the lettering, which is fine. But this is why I show them off on here, is because you can see everything. I have it's a Costco truck, and that's a reference to my buddy Dave Acosta. He's a comic book artist, and he's also a very big fan of Costco. So I figured we'd have a Costco truck there. So this was a really hard page, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I like also the way I was able to reduce some of the buildings to their more basic elements. So that was pretty fun. I think I must have sold page, well, some of those pages are gone right now. Let me see if I have them right over here. I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't. So we might not see every single page, guys. Sorry. Here's page 5. Here we go. So here's some that are not on here. Here we go. So page 5. Let's check in with the chat here. Chime in that everyone needs one of these in the studio. They absolutely do. Thank you, Derek. Dan Benbow, writer. Don't sell yourself short. Those are slick looking cars. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. I feel pretty good about them. I was looking at a lot of Giraud, actually, trying to figure out cars, because he draws cars kind of his own way, but they look really cool, like the way they move and they have physics. Anyway, here's page 5. And I must have sold those other pages, or they're somewhere. This is a big fight, and I really wanted it to just be like a Looney Tunes fight, but like with the kind of energy that I bring and kind of resemble almost like graffiti of like energy as the different bodies and energies and powers are shooting around in here. But then also it's kind of comical. It's like, because I think what I was thinking is that if two regular people were seeing Superman and the Flash fight, they wouldn't really be seeing them throwing punches and stuff. They would just see this chaos, this like, Bugs Bunny fight, going on, but on some next level, So, Worm's like shooting his energy things out, or Cirrus is flying through here. And when they finally do have something coming at them, say like an energy beam is what I think this is supposed to be from Worm, they wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. But luckily Cirrus catches it, stops it, or I guess Roger in this case, right in time. I'm really happy with the way I spotted my blacks on this page too. That's something I've been trying to get better at. So this one is pretty cool. A lot of kind of forced kind of perspective stuff here. These are the close-ups of Worm's hands as he's shooting at them. I kind of like this, of them like, oh crap, I did little dot eyes on them, which I don't always do. And then page 6. We go. Big explosion. Been trying to master these and have my own version of them. I like the big explosions you see in, say, a manga or an anime. Those ones tend to be a little more cloudy, like mushroom cloudy sometimes, which is really awesome. But I was like, well, how do I want mine to look? And I wanted them to have this sort of energy ball feeling, like a bright energy ball, like a sphere kind of. So I like it. I like what I did here. And another thing, I try to put details in here that people catch on later readings, or maybe they can only see it on the original art. And so all 3 characters can be seen here. Like Cirrus is right here, or Cirrus Roger is right here. Roger Cirrus is over here. And Sarah is actually way up here in the corner. She might even got clipped off. She's within the trim lines, but I would have to look. And I'm not going to pull that out right now. We're just going to stick with the art today. And I'm happy with this drawing too, of Cirrus kind of getting up from getting zapped. Some of these really forced perspectives are really nice. I like this because I didn't draw any perspective lines on these. I just eyeballed this whole page. And there's not a lot of buildings or anything, but I just kind of eyeballed like what the perspective would be like. And I think it worked. I hope it worked. Okay, so page 6. I'm sure I got 7 and 8 in here. Oh, here we go. 7 and 8 right here. So here's 7. This is really the panel that is all about right here. I wanted the franticness to come across here as he's digging through the rubble, and I wanted to show Worm's face all beat up. But this last panel is really what it's all about. I wanted this sort of dramatic moment as he lifts up all this rubble, and he sees Sarah, but we haven't seen Sarah yet, but he's seeing her. So to see his reaction, and then of course the guys are smart. We made this on a page turn, and then you have this reveal of Sarah here under the rubble, and I wanted to capture his sadness here. I'm still trying to, I'm always trying to figure out faces. In the SCHLUB, I really was going big with the expressions, and so I think a little bit of the grotesqueness is okay. And so here I really just wanted a big, he's like on the verge of tears. And I drew the heck out of this rubble, you guys. Oh my gosh, I drew a lot of rubble up there. I don't know if anybody cares about rubble, but I drew all these little, rebars and everything sticking out of everywhere. That's what's sticking through her side. And I love drawing rips. Everybody probably knows that. So 8, and here's 9. And so after a big page like that, where you have a splash or something, I really do, so there's a big action scene, and that culminates in this big, explosion, and then, okay, you have this big dramatic moment, and so then it's kind of nice sometimes to get back to something a little more standard. This isn't quite a standard 6-panel grid, but it's basically a 6-panel grid page with a little, three insert on the bottom. And it kind of grounds you again and puts you back, okay, reset for what the next thing is. I try to always be aware of that with the paneling, what, you can pace things. And it doesn't mean you have to use a grid every time. I mean, that's a good way to do it. But it just means that, if things are going wild, maybe you turn the panels a little bit, or maybe you make them different shapes. And then maybe when they're calming back down, give people something that's really easy. A grid is really easy. On this page, though, I'm actually most happy with this panel right here. I really like. I really love the way I drew this I-beam. None of this probably came across in the final book, but there's a really nice brushiness to this I-beam right here. Stuff nobody cares about but me. There's page 9, and then of course we get to page 10. Let me check in here with the chat here. Great momentum in the tires. Thanks, Eli. BMC Comics, great to see originals. Yes, thank you. Great light values, Eli. Thank you. Derek. And then yes, this is the turtle page. No longer available, but this page is, I really went ham on this one, guys. This was the script said the turtle fortress emerges from a portal in the middle of the city. I was just like, whoa, man. I mean, it was bad enough when they wrote the script for issue 2 when it had the turtle fortress in there, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You want me to draw a turtle with a fortress on his back? But it's because my mind goes nuts with all the possibilities, right? And so it's a big, and it's a tall order to pull off because it's still just ink on paper, right? It's that's the hard thing, right? So this one, I really wanted this big forced perspective. Again, I wanted to just have cars that were my cars, not having to reference 100 different types of little cars for this. And then, and they also said all the monsters are pouring out of the portal. So underneath the turtle, I had all these worm creatures and stuff popping out. And the way I kept the designs on a lot of the monsters, other than the turtle, is very loose, so that I didn't have to be on model with what they look like. I thought of them as a little more amorphous. And I think that's scarier anyway than if they all look, exactly on their model all the time. But yeah, I think I pulled this one off. And then, of course, Mike crushed on the colors. I mean, I'm not going to pull that out right now, but I mean, this page is, I'm really proud of it, but it's really nice when I draw something I'm proud of and then the colors just elevate it. Another thing that's nice on the original art that's hard to see in the comic is that, I did a lot of dry brushing on these legs, but then on this leg, it's sharper because it's in motion. A lot of stuff some of the dry brushing, I just kind of did it and thought, well, it'll come across however it comes across. It came across fine in the printed comic, but it's definitely not as cool as seeing it on paper, in my opinion. Okay, so page 10, and here's page 11. We get our Avengers / Justice League type guys here. We see the death of the Silver, what's his name? The Silver Shield. These guys were pretty fun to draw. They didn't have a whole lot of screen time, so it was kind of tricky to find anytime they were on a page, I wanted to try to feature them almost as full-bodied as I could so that they had some screen time. Whereas Cirrus, I can have a page where he's mostly close-up or mostly far away because you know what he looks like. These guys, they got to read immediately, and then they're gone. They're in and out so fast. But I was pretty happy with how I pulled this off. You got them fighting here. You cut to this close-up of these two talking. You see the monster flying in the background with the car, and then the next panel you see the car falling as the monster dropped it from right above him. This is a silly bit. And then I did, of course, a lot of splatters with the ink here to kind of just splat that stuff. That was a fun page. Page 12, Inside Worm's Castle. This was another thing I don't feel like I had time to really show as much as we sort of implied it. I don't know if it's always like this with comics, but they were just kind of like, okay, and then they get in a big fight and Worm's all messed up, and then the next scene they're fighting again. I think we all kind of agreed that Worm had sort of a magical healing ability, that he could use his magic to heal himself, but it took time and energy. So in the middle of a fight, he doesn't just heal up like Wolverine or whatever. He would need to go do some spells and get some energy to do it. So back at his base, in this background shot here, it's hard to see it in the comic, he has these little sort of magic robot droids kind of healing, sewing him up and stuff. And then the henchmen are rolling in some energy things that he's been harvesting from the super characters he's been killing. There's some really cool concepts in this book. If you guys haven't picked it up, of course I want you to pick it up, but I just think there's stuff in here for everybody. I really think it's a really approachable comic. I think it's the kind of comic you could hand to somebody who doesn't read comics and they could really enjoy it, because it's got a universal sense of the characters and the humor. But anyway, this page I was really happy with these two panels right here. I like when I can get a close-up of face right, because I think I struggle with that sometimes. And with Roger/Sirius's face here, I was really cartooning it a lot, and same thing with Worm. And so it let me get really dramatic and just kind of overdo it with hatching and stuff to just really build a moment where you pause with these two panels. Sometimes it's nice to not have all that hatching because, you don't need it here, right? But here there's a dramatic reveal kind of happening, and so I really wanted it to slow down, and so I kind of hatched these a little more than I would other ones, added some little, bits of fiery stuff coming in and out, and then kind of played up the scars on his face. So yeah, there's a big kind of plot point revealed here. If you haven't read it, this isn't going to necessarily spoil it, but, it kind of reveals something about Worm. And some of these drawings are pretty good, huh? I haven't looked at these since I finished them. This was another one. I had to tell this whole story in this flashback. So there's a lot of wide shots, so you can see all the different characters. But I tried to still add some atmosphere. Sometimes if you have a little less space, you can really use the light and dark to your advantage to kind of imply things and let people fill in the spots themselves. Checking with the chat here. Derek's one of your favorite pages. Seeing the ink adds a whole extra dimension. Thanks, Eli. Definitely pulled it off, Dan says. Strong Godzilla vibe. Yes, absolutely. Diagonal panels. That's right. Look out for those diagonal panels. But this page, I'm pretty happy with how I did this smoke here, and I really like Worm crawling away right here. I think this is pretty great, and this close-up of Roger and him talking. Man, I was doing some good stuff on this issue. Issue 5 is pretty fun. Another dramatic moment, so just a big face. This was another one where it was just cut back to Turtle rampaging through the city, and that's after 1, 2, 3, 4 other panels. So I have this one panel, and so I went with this kind of a high angle so you can see the city, and then just the top of the turtle is visible, and it's all kind of underlit, and so you can see there's chaos below him. And I think that was my only note to Mike, is just make it kind of, the chaos is below, underlighting it. 14, 15, back to the Vigilant. I wish I could have showed these guys more. This guy with his sword was pretty fun to draw, and then I really wanted to show more acrobatics with the Wraith, but, we got what we got. But this was another one I was really happy with the depth that I was able to get. This is something I've struggled with, but we've got this super close-up character that makes the panel border pretty much, and breaks the top of the panel border, and then they also break it, so that puts them in sort of a middle ground. He's kind of part of the panel, so he's first, and then them, and then behind them you've got Cirrus flying with Sarah, and then behind them you got monsters back in the city. So I really was happy with this. I feel like I created a depth that still made you feel like you're in the middle of this big battle. Sometimes I'm reading a comic and there's a big fight going on, and there'll be a double-page spread of the fight, but then all the next few pages of individual shots, you don't really see everything behind them. And I understand. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? For no reward. but the only reward is making something look awesome, right? And hopefully people can see that. So yeah, I mean, I'm cramming so much onto these pages and trying to think about where everybody is. This drawing, this little tiny drawing of the Wraith doing a flip right here, I really like that, and I like how it breaks here. So I think this one has a really good flow to the page. Sarah's face here I was happy with too, and Roger's face. Yeah, these are nice. These are nice. I was in the groove by this point. You know, you do five issues of the same characters, you really start to get in a groove. You know, you start to feel the story. You really, it's a lot easier, I think, than doing, say, one-offs or when you first start a project, like what I'm doing right now. It's hard to get in the groove. But by this point, if I see a script and it says Roger does this or Cirrus does this, I can just, you know, I know what they look like. I can roll with it. Whereas when you're starting a project, or if you're doing like a one-off for somebody, the hard thing is every time something shows up, you're kind of drawing it for the first time in a lot of ways. You know, you haven't built up the muscle memory of what they look like. The book definitely goes in a different direction than expected, Dan says. Thanks, man. Okay, so we see Cirrus get zapped. On this page, so I'm trying to point out the things I like best about each page. I'm really happy with especially Roger here and the way I did these chains. They're kind of just, I did actually draw the chains, and in some parts I went in and like colored in the lines to make it look like a chain. In other spots I just did little dots of whiteout, so you get a sense that some of the chains are disappearing into the darkness or the atmosphere of the room. And then page 17, another one where I wanted this sense of quickness here. So we have sort of a, you know, this is all kind of happening at the same time. When they attack him, I like that they just said the goons attack Worm, but they didn't say what they were doing. So I figured they'd be fighting dirty. So he's like poking him in the eye. She's just wailing on his groin. I like this little bat that I did here. That was good. And then grab. I did all my own lettering on these parts. So the grab of him grabbing it out of his hand, the shing of the chains getting cut. And so I was like, okay, we got to show him freeing Roger. What's the quickest way to do that? Just show the chains getting cut. And then you know, okay, well, he's out. And then they activate it, what do they call it? The relic is, I think, what we're calling it. Worm's not having that. Busts out. I'm pretty happy with this page too. One thing I noticed, maybe the second or third time I looked through the issue when it was fully printed and colored, was that and this isn't going to matter to anybody, but like I had these rips on Cirrus's costume in these previous pages, and they're not on his costume here. Classic comic mistake. I shouldn't even point it out, but it's the kind of thing I notice. On this page, this panel is the one I'm really happy with. I like the sense that he just peels away, and the energy is kind of, you know, still connected to him as he peels away to go fight Worm. And then this page, I'm really happy with this here. It's kind of like a splatter to kind of the idea that there's like this crackling energy in front of his face, you know, from their hands being locked. And they say, I think in the script it said something like he shoots the ground and Cirrus falls into another dimension or something, I think is what it said. I guess it's sort of like the inner dimension of the worm's spot, or the worm's castle's body, the turtle. And then we end on this really kind of cliffhangery, awesome, oh no, he's trapped with all these monsters, you know, how's he going to get out? This was a lot of fun. I mean, I love drawing monsters in the dark and horror stuff. I like this head too here. I was really relying on a lot of my hatching and sort of dark areas to sort of provide the drama. I think it worked. I like the way he's holding Cirrus's head here too. It makes me laugh. He's like, that's like my dad would do that, you know, like, get over here, you know, we're going this way. Grab on top of my head. Okay, so here we go. So then we pick up in issue 6. Oh, and here's something that never got published. I think I put this online. It is included in the trade. This is the SCHLUB No More cover. Yes, scratch that xenomorph itch. Definitely, Eli. So this cover came out of Ryan has told this story. He told it at our panel, so I'm not going to tell the whole thing. But basically, there was a trademark claim that someone else had on the name the SCHLUB for a comic book. And so we had toyed around with the idea of calling the comic what its original title was, which was The Unbearable Roger Dalton, which abbreviates to Turd, which Ryan thought that was hilarious. And so then we changed it to the SCHLUB at some point, and then we were debating going back to The Unbearable Roger Dalton. So we were going to have to change it, I think, on issue 3. And so Ryan's like, can you do a cover for issue 3 of like, I think we even talked about it being a reference to the Spider-Man No More. And I was like, heck yeah. So I drew that really quick. Like I did this between issue 5 and 6, I think, is when I drew this. And one thing that was interesting is while I was working on this, I was looking at the original cover, but also a lot of other references to the cover. And the original cover, the perspective on it is like, it's like all wrong. Like it's classic kind of just the kind of thing that makes comics great in a way. It's just classic, like just make it tell the story, right? So, you know, like this wall in the original is at the wrong angle for the way everything in the background is set and everything on the side is set and the height of the character, it's all wrong. And so when I started doing it, I was building my perspective grid and I was like, wait a minute, like this doesn't look like the Spider-Man cover. Like, what am I doing? What's wrong here? And I'm like, oh, this perspective's all wacky on this. And so even though I did mine a little closer to what it should be, I still fudged it in a lot of ways because you really can't fit this in here correctly if you're using the right stuff. And also, these buildings are pushed way back, right? So they wouldn't be across the alley. These would be like 3 blocks away. But you don't want the buildings to be up above your character, and you don't want him to be like, you know, way down here at his feet, and you know, so you have to kind of make these decisions. So it was like a really good lesson for me to learn from. Just how can I capture the essence of the original, but also like twist it a little bit. So this one was a lot of fun, and it was published in the back of the trade paperback. So if anybody does want to see it in color with Mike's great kind of moody colors on it, look no further. All right. Page 1 of number 6. Number 6 we decided was going to be the last one for a minute. And so we decided let's go ahead and make it a big issue and really just cram as much into it as we can and kind of have a lot of big action. And so Kenny and Ryan gave me tons of fun things to draw and tons of leeway on how to draw it and just kind of said go nuts. And so I'm forever grateful to them for letting this book feel like something that I could contribute to and was able to showcase what I wanted to do with a superhero comic. And so it was a lot of fun. So we pick up right where we left off. And again, the thing I like the most, I think, is sort of this kind of his face sort of on the verge of death, right? So when I drew this image, I was thinking, of course, about when Kaneda gets thrown into Tetsuo's morphing body, him and Kaori, and you see like it's like squishing up on them. And you're like, oh no, no, no. So I wanted that claustrophobia there. And then this really expressive last panel where he kind of loses his temper and goes off. This was kind of fun too, him sort of reaching out. That was kind of fun. And Mike, when he gave me these colors, I was like, oh my gosh, he got it. It was just perfect. And then here, this double page spread, they just kind of said, Cirrus fights the monsters, 2-page spread. I was like, all right, like, let's do this. So I love drawing big battles, and there's a lot to see in this one, and I encourage everybody to just... I think this one does work better in color because it's so chaotic, and Mike did such a good job of punching the right spots, right? But the idea is that, you know, I'm not the only one who's done this, but I like when you can have a scene that plays out across panels, but it's all kind of in the same space. So you're seeing a character or a series of characters move through a space over the course of the panels. So the panels are dividing up the space into kind of segments of time, I guess, which is just comics really. But when you think about it in this way, where it's all one image, but then with this added benefit of the panels, and then the depth of the whole page giving you other elements of storytelling. So when things break the panel, it puts them in front of, what's going on within the panel. And so that actually helps create a sense of kind of what I'm trying to do, at least, is create a sense of your in points and out points into the scene and into the action, right? So you have in points, that bring you through the action, so that you can kind of see what's going on. And a lot of these things are happening. The idea is they're happening so fast that it's all simultaneously happening. So when you get down here and you have this really close shot of him punching the monster, it's like that's maybe happening last because it's, well, second to last because it's closest to the foreground, but it's also happening kind of almost at the same time as the rest of this battle's happening because he's moving so quickly. But yeah, I mean, you got this up here in the front, and then the last person with the last line is in the very front, and that's Cirrus and Roger's body over here. I don't know if any of that made any sense, you guys, but these are the things I think about when I'm drawing. So hopefully you thought it was cool. And then I wanted to just go all out on these next few pages too and have it feel completely chaotic. And so all the images bleed off the page. Everything bleeds into the gutters, off the page, and it's just this dark, chaotic battle that's happening. Because it's all in this dark castle, right? And it's like confusing. They're dropping things, they're trying to catch things, they're fighting things. And that's sort of like that big chase scene feeling I wanted the whole last issue to have, where you're kind of just, trying to keep up with what's happening. The other thing I was pretty chaffed about was this. I like this when he rips out his shirt as Roger/Cirrus jumps away, it sort of turns into a cape. And so my thinking was that Cirrus, even though he's trapped in Roger's body, is still doing these super heroic things by kind of trying to grab the relic. I mean, I'm not going to get into all their motivations and stuff. You can read that however you want. But just visually, I like that visual cue that he's behaving like a superhero right here, even though he doesn't look like one. My favorite thing on both of these pages is Worm right here and right here. Like him putting on his mask right here. That's like one of my favorite drawings I've done. I really, really like that drawing. And then here where he's just towering over kind of Roger with all the monsters around him and the crackling energy coming off of him. Worm is like such a fun character to draw. Like I wish I could see more people drawing because he's so much fun to draw. Thank you, Eli. Epic shot. Rule of cool wins every time. One image of multiple scenes at once. Really strong narrative device. Thank you. You're getting it. You get it. You get it. And then, of course, page 6 here, Roger. And this is on the back of the trade paperback. So if you guys have a copy, you'll see on the back here we have Roger punching his way out of the turtle. And so this was a part that I feel that I was able to contribute something narratively, or at least, plot-wise. And it says that they escape. They have the fight, and then Roger and Cirrus escape. And I can't remember, if it says like they fly away or what, but the story just kept going on, and then they continued the fight and blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of like, hold up, guys, like, what happened to the giant turtle, right? We didn't, because I got to the end of the issue and there was no scene where the giant turtle got killed. And I was like, well, if nobody killed the giant turtle, we have to assume it's still out there. You don't leave the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man out there and just assume that the good guys got him, right? So I was like, well, why doesn't he fly out of the turtle, like fly out of his head, and it kills the turtle? So, the turtle's here, and his head explodes, and then they're coming out of his neck hole here. So it may be kind of hard to tell, but hopefully you can see because they're coming out of here. They're coming out of his neck hole, and as they pop out, Worm's chasing them, and the henchmen are thrown clear. Because the other thing is that the henchmen show up in the next scene, and I was like, well, how did the henchmen get there? And they were like, I don't know. They got out. I was like, okay, well, so I drew them falling out over here. And then we go to the game of just everyone trying to get the relic. And so so everyone's kind of, it gets knocked out of his hand, and they're all chasing it around. But this page was a lot of fun. This was one where I was like, I know this can be a really cool, I knew this could be a really cool kind of shot and a really cool scene. A really sort of heroic scene, but also, it shows the shift in the two characters. Like Roger over the last end of issue 5 and beginning of this issue really started to own being a superhero. And so I wanted him to have this big, heroic, badass shot as he comes out, And then this next page, let me make sure I didn't miss any. I'm trying to point out the Easter eggs when they're here. There's not any Easter eggs here. On this page, I like how I made Roger's head, or Sirius's head, looking back and forth for the relic. And then we have another huge spread here, which, of course, was a lot of fun. And this is where you really can tell, okay, the turtle's dead, because he's in the background falling into the buildings while Worm chases them down. And then here I use the paneling. Instead of having the paneling be something that is an overall design element, you can use panels, I think, to just be a little like, hey, look here, look here on your page, right? And so this is one image again, and you get a sense of like the depth and the chase happening. But then on the previous page, you see the tentacle pick up the relic, and I wanted that relic to then be in Worm's hands. And so I sort of showed these little panels, and I had Mike highlight them with color of the tentacles handing it up to Worm. So yeah, these tentacles are really fun to draw, by the way. If you've never drawn tentacles before, highly recommend it. Very fun to draw tentacles. Don't take that in any weird places, anybody. And I was really happy with this too. Just the idea of these two guys running away. They just did something super badass, and like, oh crap, sort of that Han Solo Stormtrooper moment. And then we're on page 9. All right. Another kind of, okay, so we just had all that insanity. Okay, let's get some square panels that are perpendicular back onto the page here so people can kind of have a breath. We're inside the hospital, and this one too, man, I'm really happy with the way I drew the Wraith here. Like the way I used the blacks on her costume, her expressions. This one turned out all right. This page is like it's weird. Like the more you look at comic art and become a fan of it or do it yourself, I do feel like you start to appreciate different things. Like the splash pages are great, and I see why people love them, and I love drawing them, and they take a lot of, they look great. But the amount of techniques I had to figure out and storytelling beats I had to figure out, like in some of these kind of pages, are just as interesting and just as like difficult and special for me as a creator. And I hope that some people find these ones to be. And they're usually cheaper, so that's another reason, like personally, I get a lot of pages like this, because you can see an artist really, like here, you're seeing me do something I do very well, I think, which is a big action, big guys, giant characters, explosions, and that's cool. But sometimes if you get like a storytelling page from an artist, you can see the way they handle fabric and the way they handle, hair, or the way they have characters acting within the scene, the way they choose to break or not break the panels. Those are things I think that I'm always interested in seeing like artists do, and like what they struggled with. Because I can tell you right now, I'd rather draw 1,000 of these monsters than one bed in a hospital bed. Hospital beds are not fun or easy to draw, and I ended up not even, like, I took a lot of creative liberties, but even then it's like, how do you make it look like a hospital bed? So anyway, 9, 10. The goons are in the hospital, and they're like, oh hey, they run into the good guys, and they kind of form an alliance. The expression on this goon's face here is my favorite. He's like, oh hey, what are you guys doing here? That one was another fun page. And then Sarah gives a speech here, so we gave her some dramatic lighting. This took forever, honestly. Like drawing a lot of characters together that is not a full page spread, having it look cool and having them all be in proportion and seeing them, or mostly seeing their whole bodies, is like so difficult, man. It's so difficult. People want to make fun of artists when they like forget a leg in the background or mess up something on these kind of shots. But man, oh man, it's easier than you think to just be like, there's no leg there, I didn't draw it, or I thought their leg should go here, but if you put it there, it looks weird, because it creates a weird tangent with this person. And so there's just like so much like fudging around to get them all in the right spot. And then of course you want them all to look cool. So then you want to try to light it. You want to try to have like everybody in a pose. So these are really hard to do. And this one's cool because this, I think, is the only shot where it has all of the Vigilant minus the Silver Shield. and all of the goons all together, and plus Sarah. So it's basically the entire supporting cast of the group that's not, you know, Sirius and Roger and Worm, all on one page. So I like this page a lot. This one was fun because I got to draw every character. It was really cool. And again, Wraith's face here and her arm. Oh, look at her. She looks like a badass, dude. Maybe I should do a Wonder Woman comic or something. All right. They retreat to the subway. Sirius does the old smash the ceiling in trick. Works better than you'd think it would. And then I put some zips. These are actual zips on Sirius Roger here. It's actually starting to bubble up because I put them over some whiteout, which is not a good idea. But it's going to stay. It's just a little bubbly. But I've been trying to play with the zip tone, and there's always a fear of it printing incorrectly. But sometimes with these larger spread out patterns, it's not really much of a concern. And it just helps create that little bit extra little depth there. You know, it's like very subtle, but I like it. Oh, I forgot to point out one other thing. Right here on this. It says Leiston Road. My buddy Jay Leiston is an inker. So I hit his name in there. Was there another one on here? No, okay. What else is on here? I got Trash Cola, an ad for Trash Cola up here. And then down here, I hid right behind his leg, it says Ajax and Huey from Beef Bros. Let's see what you guys got going on here. Image. Oh, no new chats. Okay, good. But yeah, Ajax and Huey, that's their little hidden thing. They're right behind his leg there. Shout out to Aubrey. And then again, this is sort of a talking scene, but there's a lot of drama, and so making the decisions about close-ups and far shots and sort of what the lighting is going to be like and what their posture is going to be like. I try to have them act with their posture, and I was really happy with how they acted here. There's a lot of things I like about this page, but this expression here and the way he's kind of holding his fingers like, you know, and then the way Roger and Sirius's body just feels defeated, you know. And then I really like this forced perspective right here too. So here's another one. We got Lee Brothers Artisan Whoopee Cushions. My friends Ryan Lee and Sean Lee is a comic artist and a graphic designer for comics that are very cool guys and funny guys. So in the background here, I put the Lee Brothers artisanal whoopee cushions. And then this train stop is sort of modeled on Chicago train stops. It's sort of made to look like the Logan Square stop. So here's the 2-page spread of the train busting through, kaboom. So I think that it said 2-page spread, a train controlled by Worm or something like that is smashing through the here. And so this took a while to figure out, and I was terrified of drawing a train, but then I just did it, you know? Like sometimes you just got to do it and like hope for the best. And like if you get it close, people will understand that it's a train. And so I made it look like a CTA train, and even though this is a Logan Square stop kind of, I have it say Kimball on it because I take the line that goes to Kimball. I live right by the Kimball stop up here. So kind of a mix and match there. This is the panel I'm happiest with here, where the train's kind of skidding along in the foreground, and the tentacles are coming after them, and they're sort of running, and he's carrying Sirius here, and Sirius's face looks hilarious to me right there. Man, this was a lot of fun. Page 16 and 17. Wait, yeah, okay. Again, I put some zips. There's actual zip tones on this page. This little section right here was really fun because I think it said, you know, the Worm, you know, sends the monsters after them and they get separated or something. But this like cool monster, this big claw thing was pretty fun to draw. And I like how these zips turned out. But honestly, this little 3-panel sequence with Sirius and Roger's body here is really, I really enjoy how this turned out. I like the way this little glass breaking looks here. These monsters are cool. The way he sees the stop sign and goes at him with it. I like the way I blurred his legs here. This all works for me on this page. This all works for me. Renewing my hope for an artist edition. You know, Eli, that'd be great. One thing I might do that I do for my Patreon people is I put the raw scans up in a PDF form for free for my patrons. Well, not for free, but for the paying patrons. I'll probably start making some of that stuff available for the SCHLUB at some point, if it's not already, because I like to show these things. It's fun to see. I wish every artist would just have their stuff up to look at. I really wanted it to be a pretty brutal strike to him here, like where you're like, oh boy, that's pretty rough. I like how I drew the crunch here. That was really fun. I was definitely in my zone by this point on the series. And so after that, more zips over here. We got more zip tones here on this slam back here. So do page 19 here. 19, again, the whole crew shows up, but very small. So I was trying to find ways to simplify them. You know, Sirius is still alive, but he's not looking too good. I like the way I drew his gut here. And then classic Worm, sort of underlit, summoning monsters. You know, can't go wrong with that. I mean, that always looks cool. And then page 18 was another one where there was like a lot going on, so you can see that I'm drawing a lot of tiny characters. I'm really into the way I was able to figure out this power shock here. That was something that I figured out, or I started figuring out on Beef Bros actually. In Beef Bros behind bars, there's a guard that hits them with this baton and it shocks them. And so I started drawing it on that, and then kind of simplified it even more here, and I'm really happy with that. His arm crunch here is pretty brutal. That was page 18. I did those out of order. These are all pretty. These are nice. The buildings turned out pretty good back here. Actually, oh, that's the other thing. I need to stop saying actually. This is a car I'm really happy with. It's a crashed car, but I think it looks really cool. And then right behind that crashed car, I don't think you can see this in the comic, it says Sanford's Greens. Sanford's another guy that's part of this drawing group that Sanford Green is in this drawing group that I'm in, and he's awesome, and he's been so cool and nice to me and just encouraging, and so I stuck his name in there. And I figured it's some sort of medical marijuana place, Sanford's Greens. I don't know if that's funny or not, but that's what I did. Let's see, what else we got going on here? Nothing, okay. So then I think it said 2-page spread, huge battle as they try to get the relic, and then Sirius gets the relic, or Roger gets the relic. So I was like, okay. So again, I wanted to have this sense of a big battle that takes up edge to edge of the whole thing, and have it feel chaotic, but also get a sense of the geography of it. So you have your long shot at the beginning to show Worm with the relic. He gets it zapped out here, and then from there you kind of see the fight unfold. Over here you might recognize our friend, I believe her name was Doris from issue 1, and her nitrous tank. She's still somehow wandering around the city carrying her nitrous tank, feeling good. And then you zip through, and I wanted to show all the characters doing different things. So you have, you know, Sirius and punching. You have these guys shooting, the speedster guys going through. And then as this whole fight's unfolding, these inset panels are showing the relic tumbling through the scene and people almost getting it or being close to it. And so it kind of zips by them. They kind of see it, you know, coming through. I wanted my major Kusanagi moment up here for the Wraith trying to grab Worm. And again, to show the scale of Worm and Sirius being like so much bigger than everybody else. And then Sirius / Roger down here with the big old cheeser as he grabs that relic. This one was really fun. It was cool. Brunson, yo. You can tell how much fun you're having making these, Eli says. The energy in this. It was an absolute blast, but also like it's more fun to look at it now. Well, I mean, drawing it is fun in a way, but it's also this sort of, when I first finished this page, I probably had a lower opinion of it than I do now, right? Because when you're working on anything, or at least when I'm working on anything, I feel that I oftentimes am reaching for something that I can't grasp. And so a lot of times it's hard to acknowledge. I was just talking to my wife about this yesterday. It's hard sometimes to acknowledge what your successes are on a piece because all you're seeing is what you're reaching for that you maybe haven't grasped yet, or you're maybe seeing the mistakes that you made. You're not as easily acknowledging the successes. And so one of the nice things about doing these flip throughs is that it really does make me feel like, okay, I'm acknowledging, what I did well. So anyway, everyone should do that though. It's good for you to acknowledge your successes. So I don't know where I put where are those ones at. Oh, hey, there's an Eris page. I shouldn't be showing you that. That's not out yet. Eris 3 is coming, but it is not out yet. Need to make sure I don't show too much of it. Oh no, you're seeing it. Oh no, don't look at that, please. Okay, well, I thought I had some other pages in here, so there's a few missing. Maybe they got sold, or maybe they're in the portfolio. But these are the last 5 pages of issue 6 right here. And all right, Eli, you get it. That's right. Okay, so the SCHLUB number 6, page 25. This is the only thing I wish I could have spent. Even now, I can acknowledge the things that are good about this page, but I wish I had maybe 2 pages to do this scene. We were sort of, like I said, trying to cram so much into this, and it just I wish I had a little more time to sell this punch, because he basically punches Worm into outer space. That's what the script says. The script says Cirrus Roger punches Worm into outer space. And I was like, okay, I wish I could have had that be like, I wish this could have been like two or 3 pages, even just at the bottom, and really just show him going, and then have a spread of him out in space, by himself in a void. I think dramatically that would have been great. But we had to have him cast a spell, them have this line together, and then him go into space. So how do you show somebody get into space from the ground? Well, I showed him launching out from the buildings and then breaking through the clouds, and then he's in space. And it's pretty fun. It reads in a funny way, and so I like the humor of it. I just wish I could have sold the drama of it a little bit better. That being said, I mean, no regrets. It still works. And then here, the boys have an argument. And Roger decides, I'm going to take Cirrus to the hospital because he is all messed up. And now they are trapped. And so this is probably my favorite panel on the page, or my favorite drawing. I just love angry Cirrus in Roger's body with his arm all busted up, his eyes punched in, he's ripped up, he's all cut up, his back is burned. He's a mess. So I think I sold that pretty well. And then this is something I hope people like or don't care, or either like it or don't care. And I really went simplified and expressionistic on the buildings on this page. The background buildings, and it makes sense. I mean, most of them are covered with word balloons. But I really tried to just do like single pen strokes to get the side of the building. That's just like, and then there's buildings. But they're all smashed up, right? And there's heat everywhere, so I figured. And then here, these are just like ink blobs to make the windows. And then these are just like single pen strokes back here. And then some scribbles. And then same thing here. I didn't even use a ruler on these buildings. I just knock them in because the focus is not the buildings, right? I drew enough backgrounds on this. Let's see here. Pretty late. Thanks, Brunson. That's okay. You can go back and watch the early stuff later. No big deal. Roger's going to swap bodies back into a coma. Yeah, maybe. We have this last moment with Sarah here. I did show him landing up here. Make sure I didn't miss any other Easter eggs in here. I didn't. Here's another thing that it's rare, but occasionally I will go in digitally after I've drawn the page and adjust something because I just don't want to adjust it on the page, or I notice it after I've already scanned it. And this is one right here where he looks like Dorf. I don't know if you guys know who Dorf is, but it's this old Tim Conway thing where he just stands on his knees and acts like he's short. He has Dorf legs here. So I did digitally in the computer extend his legs a little bit to make him look taller, because this is ridiculous, and I can't believe I inked it like that. But hey, you know. Oh, Eli likes that the Mercy's smashed up. Yeah, so you know it's the same hospital, but you can tell that it's been through that battle that we've just saw. Like, and there's bullet holes in the wall. You know, like the battle still is pretty fresh. So I wanted all this to be very fresh. And then again, like this panel, again, he looks lame, but the buildings are not even ruler buildings. They're just pen lines to draw the buildings. And I think it worked fine. Trying to be brave about that kind of stuff. So then we shift into this sort of moment of sort of maybe a wrap up, you know, where you sort of say, here's where all the characters are. Like in a movie, it would be a little montage of so-and-so went on to become a blah, blah, blah. So again, it means that you kind of have to tell a lot of story in every single image. And so, that's another reason that I also wanted to use black, like these black borders, so that it all feels very separated from each other, even though it's all very together on the page. So this was a situation here on the top where I did use a reference for these buildings under construction, because I was like, okay, I'm not drawing any other buildings under construction in this book or any other book anytime soon, so I'm not going to kind of like with cars, I wanted to learn how to draw cars so that I could draw cars when I needed to draw them. But I was like, I don't need to draw buildings under construction anytime soon, and I need to get this done. So I used a reference photo for this. And I think what I did is I took the photo into my... I try to be as open as possible, because I use reference and I don't use it that much, but I do use it sometimes. And when I use it, I try to put my own touch on it, right? So the first thing I do when I use a reference photo for like these buildings under construction is I pull all the color out of it, and then I just bump up the contrast a lot. So it's already sort of helping me simplify what it looks like. And then I try to draw from that. And so then I can start thinking, okay, instead of thinking about what this side of the building looks like and all of its windows, when I did that, I saw that, well, that side of the building can just be black. And it's like an easy way to take a reference photo and already start sucking out some of that stiffness and that like slavishness to like representing that exact image, is to just do that, you know, take out some of those things. Again, the Wraith on this page, I feel sometimes I'm not great at drawing women, but man, I nailed her on all these ones. I like the upgraded Cirrus/Roger here with the well-groomed. I put the scar on his face from where he got smashed, you know, in the eye, so his eye still works. He's got maybe more stylish glasses. The idea is that Cirrus is being a better Roger than Roger was, right? And so he's making amends with Sarah. He's opened his dentist's office, blah, blah, blah. And then I got to draw the villains again. I was so sad drawing all these villains for the whole series that just got like their energy sucked out right away and we didn't see them. But the guys were like, hey, they could come back, you know? So we have them all here, and they're going to go find the henchman that betrayed them. And so I got to draw Daddy Longlegs and Smorgasbord and what's this guy's name? Cyberwolf or something. And of course, Sergeant Skyhawk. And then the man made of shadows back here in the back. I don't know if a lot of people caught him, but he's in a bunch of the... He's in the comic. There's this villain who's just made out of shadows, and he has lines. And then, of course, the villains, the henchmen are on their little... somewhere. They're somewhere else. A little hidden thing on this page. Big box right here. Big Box is my bad movie crew. I used to do a podcast, the Big Box podcast. It's been a while, but that's my bad movie crew, Big Box. Had to put them in there. All right, page 29. I wanted to get back to the original image of the first page of Inside the Mouth. So you've gone from Roger and Roger's body being Roger, and now you're Cirrus and Roger's body being Roger. And so he's in here doing his job, and it was nice to throw back to that, because I just took the original image and shrank it down and then I drew over it, and so it was pretty easy. You know, I had to adjust a few things because of the scale of the panel, but you know, it's nice to draw something I had drawn before. And And then he fought this dragon. I thought that'd be kind of a cool, just show it coming up from the city. So you get the city back here. You see Sarah down there in the background. He gives her a little nod. And then the final page, they wanted to have a fleet of these ships coming in front of the sun, and so they're like spread, splash page, Cirrus has defeated the monster, but off in the distance we see the sun is being covered up by these ships coming in. I was like, I don't know how that would work, but this is comics, right? And so it was cool to figure out how to show that, and I'm really happy with how this dragon turned out. And so you kind of have this ending of like, we think everything's all well and good, but it looks like maybe somebody from Roger's land is coming to Earth and something bad could be brewing here. So, yeah. Brunson, thank you. Few Easter eggs on this page. I have Atomos back here. So I put Atomos. It's like the name of I figure it's just a shop of some kind, but obviously Katsuhiro Otomo, huge influence on me. Down here in the corner, we have hot dogs. I drew it as a hot dog cart, but there was a hot dog restaurant here in Chicago called Hot Doug's, which is one of my favorite restaurants ever. This guy, Doug, did amazing things with encased meats. And he would have fries fried in duck fat. He's like the OG doing that stuff. And it was a Chicago institution. It closed maybe, what was it? Maybe, almost 10 years ago now. But it was the spot for a while, and I miss it all the time. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Doug in there. So Hot Doug's. If any of you guys were lucky enough to come to Chicago and go to Hot Doug's before it closed, you truly lived life. And then I had to put a little thank you here. So down here in the corner, you can see this on the comic too. It says thank you, my signature on there. And then on the back, since this is the last page, I wrote the date and time that I finished it. So I finished this October 29th last year. Wow. At 11:35 p.m. is when I finished this page. So the last page I drew of the SCHLUB so far, and that's 2 days before my birthday. So I finished this right before my birthday. I think that was one of my goals. Is like I want to get this done before my birthday. So that was issue 6 of the SCHLUB. 5 and 6 actually. I hope you guys dug it. If you missed the beginning, please go back and check it out. These pages are all up for sale. A few of these will be on hold actually for a minute, but most of these are available. And, go check them out. No pressure to buy them or not buy them, but hey, just go look at them. But if you want to buy them, I would love for you to have them, especially you guys who come here in the chat. I will also be at some shows, and I'll have some originals with me you can look at or purchase. I'm going to be at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina in June. I believe it's in like 4 weeks from now, about a month from now. And I will have a bunch of cool stuff there, like the SCHLUB graphic novel and SCHLUB single issues and Game Over Man and IDKFA and all those good things. And I will also have some original art, and I'll be doing some limited number of at-show commissions. So if you come out to Charlotte, that would be really cool to see you there. What else? All the issues of the SCHLUB and the trade are up for sale on my website right now. I recommend you go pick them up if you haven't already. And if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter yet, that would be awesome. It's a great place to get all the information about here. And then the easiest thing you can do is give this video a like before you leave tonight. Just go up there, hit the like button for me. That'd be real cool. And, maybe subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you really want to be awesome, you could just maybe tell a friend of yours in a text message or a conversation. Don't like share it via social. I mean, you can share this via social media. That's great. But maybe just talk to one of your friends. Be like, hey, I watch this guy's videos sometimes. You should check him out because I think he's cool. I mean, I hope that's what you think. And I hope that's what you can say. Personal recommendations are so much better. Or if you like the SCHLUB, maybe let somebody borrow your copy or buy them a copy. Say, hey, I think this is a cool comic. Maybe you don't like comics, but check this out. It would mean a lot to me if you guys would share it. Because as you can see, I put a lot of work into these pages. And I think that, comics are a very special thing that should be shared. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. Oh, let me get my last few questions here. I am Brunson. Heard of Hot Doug's, never got a chance to try it. Well, the one place you can kind of try it is that there is a sort of a Hot Doug's location inside of Wrigley Field now. It's not going to have the same menu and all the rotating items that it used to have, but it does have the classics. I think they have the duck and foie gras. sausage, which is delicious. But you have to go to a Cubs game. So, Eli, definitely dug it. This was really fantastic. Thank you. Sayonara, IDKFA, that is a Doom reference. That is a comic that I did about Doom. It's my Doom fan comic. There's actually a couple pages still available. Here's my Doom fan comic right here. Here he is getting, fighting some zombies. He's fighting a Spectre here. He's got the chain gun here. If you like this, go over to tyrellcannon.com and you can buy IDKFA or my Giant Doom print. They're both for sale right now. And actually, these pages are still available. These, the last 4 pages of IDKFA are still for sale somehow on my website. So go check that out. But yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell or whatever. Do whatever you think is the best thing to do for your life. But if it can include me, I would be forever grateful. Thank you guys all so much for coming to the stream. I will hopefully do some drawing next week. I'm not going to do any drawing tonight because I want to go spend some time relaxing. It's been a long day of dadding today, so I'm ready to go relax. But you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see everybody hopefully next week.